Hey y'all, Drew here. Welcome back. So when we're looking at Master Connect here, I'm going to start off on my home page. Obviously, I'm going to go to my trackers page here because what we're going to do in this video is we're going to get ready to take my Reading Block 1 class that I created with my 3 students here, and we are going to add an assessment. I've already gone through and I've created I've got down to my 5 essential standards that I need to teach in reading, writing, and ELA for 5th grade. So now what I'm going to do is I want to go out there and I'm going to have to be able to assess these kids on these things. And there's several different ways you can go about it. If you create your own, upload your own, I can show you how to do that. But what we're going to do is we're going to use the community part of this that I talked about one of the intro videos about the free sign up that you had. You get to go out and there is a community sharing portion to this free version. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in and I want to, let's say RL9 is a year-long CFA that I need kids to do and to master before they move on to middle school. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to assess. So I click on assess. Now when it gets in here, it gives me all of my kids. And then it asks me, hey, do you want to add an assessment? Yes, I want to add an assessment. So I'm going to click on add an assessment. Now, when this pops up and it says add an assessment, now I can search the community that I was talking about. I can select from my assessments, which are assessments that I create myself. I can go ahead and create a new one right here on the spot if I'd like through Master Connect. I find that to be a little bit more difficult because of certain formatting issues and things like that. Do I want to print it out? How do I save it? Is it going to stay saved? So on and so forth. So what I want to do most of the time, if I'm creating it on my own, I will have created it with a team or other schools or whatever else in Microsoft Word, Google Docs, what other whichever platform you use to create documents and assessments. And it may be even something that you take, and if it's a CFA and it's out of a book, as long as you're following copyright law, scan it, then you can put it in. But a lot of that stuff's not for community use, so you have to be careful with what the book says on that as far as copyright being able to share. So I can go in, and what I'm going to do on this one is I'm going to search the community. I want to go out and I want to find out what other 5th grade teachers in Georgia are using for CFAs or assessments for RL9. So I go in and I'm going to search the community. Now, since I clicked on RL9 in my trackers portion, let me go back and show you that real quick. So since I went into my reading block, and I chose RL9 and I chose to assess RL9. So what it's going to do is when I click assess and I click add assessment, it is going to take me in my community. It's going to take me to all the assessments that are logged into Master Connect that are associated with RL9. So I don't have to go looking for it, which is extremely nice. I don't want to have to go looking for it. See, RL9. It may have another couple other standards with it. This one has a ton of standards with it. I wouldn't necessarily assess that many at one time, especially with this being a CFA. You're really going to do one anyway. You can see that RL9 actually shows up kind of right there in the middle under RL2. I can go, and as I go down, sorry, I'm using my keyboard, so I have to go off to the side every time. So as I go down, RL9, if it pops up, RL9. So all these are in here, comparing passages with RL9. So you can go in and I can click on these assessments. Well, it'll let me click on the assessment. It automatically, if I hover over, it'll show me who, in the top right hand corner, that who the author is, that it's 5th grade, it's GSE. She doesn't have any ratings on this. She has had 12 views on it. You can tell what day she created it and put it into Mastery Connect. And that was right before Thanksgiving of this past year. So fairly up to date, which is really good. I mean, a lot of things that you find out there, oh, hey, we're going to give this CFA and it's from 2006 or something like that if it's, 14, 15 years old. So fairly up to date. So I could go in and let's just say I'm going to use hers because she is only assessing RL9. I've gone through, I'll click on it real quick. I've gone through and, oh, sorry, screen change there. And I go in and it actually shows me what she has created here. Now, this is for educators because, like I said, Miss Jackson right here, she would have to go in and she would actually have to give her Griffin, Spalding County email. So we know this stuff is coming from educators, and most of them, if they're reviewed, they're peer reviewed because everybody on here is a teacher, which usually makes the best. It also shows you how her scoring is, if it's mastery, if it's exceeds mastery, if it's near mastery, it's a 1. Sorry for my screen there. So if I go through, I can read through it, I can take a look at it, and I say, hey, you know what? This is a great example of showing it. Now, it is multiple choice, so the answer key is here. It automatically gives you the answer key. So you could go in and do bubble sheets, which I'll show you a little bit later. That would make this easier to grade. That's where it goes back to that scanning that I showed in one of the intro videos. If you haven't checked that out, check that out when I go through the profile and it talks about scanning. And then, I can go in and rate, hey, I think this is a great job. It also gives me options to download, print. Do I want to clone it and create my own? Because everything on here is sharing, and I can bookmark this for later. So if I say, all right, hey, this is good, but I'm not going to use it for a CFA. I may use it for an extension activity, for a grade or something during center time, or however else you want to use it. You're more than welcome to bookmark it and go on there. But let's say that I want Miss Jackson's compare and contrasting fables on here. I know that it's 5th grade. I know it's at Language Arts. I know it's up to date. And I know that it's reaching the standard that I'm getting ready to assess on my students. So what I'm going to do is, since I've clicked on it, I can add it to a tracker. And what I'm going to do is, when I click on add it to a tracker, I'm going to add it to my reading class. And mastery level. Some of your trackers have different mastery levels. All right, so let me add out of that. So it gives me a warning on there, hey, different mastery levels, so on and so forth. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in, and what it was talking about in that last thing was, hey, you have trackers. This is above, because I have the 2nd grade classes in there. It's going to say, hey, this is above their level. Obviously it is, because this is 5th grade, and those are on my active trackers. And this one is 3 grade levels above that. So I go in, and I want to add to my tracker here. Jump back up. Add to tracker. Your assessment. All right, we're going to convert that assessment. So I can go in, and it's asking me to clone here, so I can go ahead and do that. Since this one's being a little crazy on me, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to assessments, back to trackers. It's not back where I left off, so I'm going to do reading block 1, RL9. Sorry for the mishap here, y'all. Her assessment didn't agree with me real quick, and I don't want to make it too long. So I'm going to go in and add an assessment, search the community. Since hers didn't like me too much, I'm going to move to a different one, and I'll move to this one. 5th grade, Miss Jennifer here. I'm going to use hers. She is also in Griffin and Spalding County. I'm going to add this to a tracker. It's telling me to convert it again. Okay, I guess I'll convert. Most of the time you don't have to convert. I can just automatically put it in. All right, yeah, that's great. That's great. That's great. That's great. All right, I'm going to clone the assessment. All right, I'll say, hey, mastery's 2, near mastery's 1. Or mastery's 3. Mastery is 2. Click all my highlighted things here. So let's see. And title, let's just say reading. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And I can do that on this one because what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to archive this one anyway. So now that I've cloned it and went through that whole process, I'm so sorry about that, y'all. I'm going to go through and I'm going to add it to a tracker. I'm going to add it to reading block 1. Now on all of them you're not going to have to convert because of the mastery levels and what they were doing, and since my mastery levels were different that I set up, and I'll show you how to change those later, then it wasn't letting me work within those parameters. So I'm going to go ahead and add that to a tracker, and boom, it's in here. And up here at the top it says assess. So I know that it has a tracker in here, and this is the one that I'm assessing here. And I can come over, launch performance grader, where I can go in and turn my camera on, and they can do the bubble sheets, which I'll show later. So that's how you add an assessment to a tracker.